He is still fighting to recover, but his family has never given up. And as Newsday's Karen Howerluck tells us now, today Christopher came home.
Bye, Christopher.
Christopher Clark has lived at the Ottawa General Hospital since last March 30th, when a terrible accident almost ended his life. At times, doctors suggested Chris could not or should not live, but his parents never gave up hope. And today, Chris went home.
It's a moment we've been waiting for a long, long time now, and we're really...
Yeah, we are. We're really happy about it.
With Christopher's arrival home, the Clarks will try to put their lives back together. They've spent every day of the last year at the hospital learning to take care of Chris. They refused to send him to a chronic care institution because they believe he can be rehabilitated.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
The Clarks have turned their living room into a hospital room, but they need lifts and ramps, and this is a rental home. A community group is trying to help them.
Whether it be someone that gives them a lease-to-own agreement, or maybe can offer a piece of land that the committee could then organize a building committee.
The Clarks gave up their jobs after the accident. There was little insurance money, and caring for Chris is expensive.
Hopefully we can make up that difference, you know, once we start working and stuff.
Hope, too, that Chris will once again defy the doctors and recover.
To what degree, we don't know as yet, but no, we're not willing to give up at any cost.
Karen Howerluck, CBC News, Ottawa.
1 year ago, a head-on crash nearly killed their son, Chris. It's been a difficult year, but now Chris has come home. And as Newsline's Sean Poulter reports, that's only the beginning.
Squish it. Squish it hard. It's good for your fingers.
Chris Clark is finally home.
There's no words to explain how happy we are to have him home.
A year ago, the Ottawa University student was driving home after class when he was struck head-on by another car. Doctors told the family Chris would not likely survive. Bedridden and unable to speak, he would have spent his life in a chronic care institution. But last week, Chris's family brought him home.
In the hospital, when they changed him rooms, he would regress a little bit, like he was really upset, agitated, stuff like that for at least a week. And since he's been home, he hasn't done any of those things. So that shows us also that he knows he's home.
It hasn't been easy. Their small home is rented. The family's living room is now Chris's bedroom. His parents care for him around the clock. But in this family, determination is more than a motto.
Christopher is our son, and it's just our responsibility to take care for him. We believe in those family values, and that's the reason why we pushed really hard to be able to bring him home.
The community is now trying to raise money for a house which can be modified to Chris's needs. The Clarks admit the cost of Chris's care worries them, but for now, what matters is that he's home. The rest they will take care of together.
Squish.
If you would like to help, there is a trust fund in Chris's name at the Royal Bank in Metcalfe. Sean Poulter, CJOH News, Greeley.
Hearing it since the mid-'80s, and it seems some people are getting tired of it. Newsline's Rhonda McMichael reports tonight on the battle to make sure the dangers of impaired driving are not forgotten.
You call this drunk? I've only had 4 beers. I've driven that road worse than this.
Life lessons.
It's only 11 now.
Great. I've got time for 1 more beer.
How to get around drinking and driving on prom night.
We're renting a hotel room, everyone is, and then the next morning I'll call my older sister.
Probably be asking my mom to pick me up.
I think there's always going to be a few people who will drink and drive on prom night, but for the most part, most people are going to be smart about it.
You don't want to hear me saying, don't drink and drive, because it's boring.
But these days, the message can be a hard sell.
A lot of people in the schools don't have the time to promote the issue of impaired driving, and the students don't really think about it.
The problem is that this has gone on the back burner, both of the media, the government, and the public as a whole.
John Bates is the founder of Mothers Against Drunk Driving Canada.
It's something that everybody thinks this problem has been licked, and it hasn't been.
Drinking and driving deaths in Ontario hit a 10-year low in 1990, but since then, they're on the rise again. In some cases, the fight to stop impaired driving isn't as intense, and it looks like some people don't take the issue as seriously anymore.
Come on, stretch it out. Good going.
Helen and Peter Clark take the issue very seriously. Their son Christopher was badly injured last year in an accident involving a drunk driver.
Christopher is now unable to function as a normal human being.
The Clarks think the government needs to get tough with offenders.
That's who we need to get angry with, is the lawmakers, you know, and expect them to stiffen the laws and to enforce them.
The laws are there, like maximum 14 years if you kill somebody, but who's gotten 14 years?
John Bates agrees. The carnage has to stop.
What we have to do now is say, okay, if you drink and drive this, get caught the second time, your license is gone for life.
When will you stop making excuses? When I get caught.
Bates says the government is doing nothing more about the problem than running what he calls an ineffective public relations campaign. Both provincial and federal government budgets for anti-drinking and driving initiatives have been cut back by millions.
We're doing ride checks for drinking drivers tonight. Any alcohol drink at all today?
That includes money to help small police forces run ride programs. Another casualty in the anti-impaired driving campaign, a designated driver program that never caught on.
Who wants to be a designated driver anyway if you're going out with the guys? And secondly, the designated driver has been looked on as a bit of a wimp.
A few years ago, many bars would advertise free non-alcoholic drinks to designated drivers. Not anymore.
It's a hard program to advertise unless you have a big advertising budget.
Try to pay for the taxi beforehand.
As the government cuts its financial commitment, groups like Students Against Impaired Driving and MAD feel it's their job to pound the anti-drinking and driving message home.
We have to put this right back on the top of the agenda. People are still dying by the thousands out there, and there's tens of thousands being seriously injured.
Rhonda McMichael, CJOH News.
For Christopher Clark. He's the young man left physically disabled after a car crash last year. Newsline's Erin McKelvey now on what neighborly concern can do for Chris.
Chris, here's Ginger. Here's Ginger.
The comforts of home. The Clark family says they've made all the difference since Chris left hospital 3 months ago.
That's it. Open up your hand. That's it, guy. He's not crying anymore, and there's a lot of the tension and stress that comes with being in hospital that's gone. He's moving around a lot more. His motor skills have improved some.
Chris was in a head-on collision with a drunk driver more than a year ago. The 20-year-old was left brain damaged and paralyzed. In a small bungalow, the family living room is now Chris's bedroom. His parents make Chris as comfortable as they can. This, they say, could improve the quality of life for the whole Clark family. Houseplans 20-year-old Chris drew for a class project back in high school. Add proper facilities to bathe and exercise Chris, and it could mean even more progress.
If we set up Christopher with his own little gym, I believe that his friends will come and work out with him.
There have been offers to donate building services and materials, but it will take a lot more, plus money. Friends and the whole Metcalfe community are pitching in with tonight's fundraising Big Country Bash at the Metcalfe Community Center.
Hey, Chris.
Last year on Father's Day, Chris's father and brother cleaned up debris at the scene of Chris's accident on Highway 31. This year, the community gives the family a helping hand. And next Father's Day?
Well, hopefully Chris will be talking.
Erin McKelvey, CJOH News, Metcalfe.
Anyone interested in helping Chris and his family is welcome to drop in on the Big Country Bash. Doors at the Metcalfe Community Center open at 8:30 tonight. The Knott Brothers Band provides the tunes. The Lone Star kicks in the food.
Well, I guess in a week filled with so much tragedy and pain, it is worth reminding ourselves that there are still stories of hope out there. And Christopher Day Clark's is certainly one of them. A year ago, we told you how this young man's parents were struggling to keep him out of an institution after he was badly injured by a drunk driver. Well, tonight we're happy to tell you that all that hard work has paid off. Here's Newsday's Chris Goldrick.
I'd like to pay my dad a visit at Lake Ontario.
Yeah, would you like to go fishing up on the lake, Chris? Can bring you right up to the edge of the water and you can throw in a line.
After a 2-year ordeal, the Clarks are confident things are getting better. Finally, their son is living with them in a new home in Greeley.
It's been very rewarding having Christopher at home because he's had some mild improvements since being home because there's no more stress, there's no more anxiety.
March 30th, 1993, Chris's car was hit head-on by a truck on Highway 31 near Greeley. The truck driver had been drinking. Chris suffered a terrible head injury. Doctors said he wouldn't live, but with his parents by his side, Chris pulled through. As Chris's strength grew, so did his parents' determination to have him live at home instead of in a chronic care facility. One of the greatest obstacles was getting money owed by insurance companies.
When you figure you have insurance, you feel that you're completely covered. Well, it turns out that it's the wrong attitude to take. You have to fight every issue.
Now, after numerous legal battles, the Clarks have some of their money. They've bought a new home especially equipped for Chris, as well as an RV that will allow the family to travel. Chris's mother says being home has helped her son's recovery.
If you're peering out the windows at others enjoying their life, what have you got to look forward to? If you've got family and friends around you and space around you that provides you with the stimulation needed, your opportunities of recovering are much greater than if you're stifled in a small room.
Doctors say Chris may not get much better, but his parents still hold out hope. And they say even if the doctors are right, Chris is much better off at home than alone in an institution. Chris Goldrick, CBC News, Greeley.